Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear students, the topic of our today's discussion is respiratory communicable disease, tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is a specific infectious disease caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. The disease primarily affects the lungs and causes pulmonary tuberculosis. It can also affect intestines, meninges, bones and joints, lymph glands, skin, and other tissues of the body. Basically, it can affect any organ of the body. The disease is usually chronic with varying clinical manifestations. This disease also affects the animals like cattle. This is known as bovine tuberculosis, which may sometimes be communicated to man. In our today's lecture, pulmonary tuberculosis, which is the most important form of tuberculosis which affects the man, will be discussed in detail here. Dear students, tuberculosis remains a worldwide public health problem. This is despite the fact that the causative organism of tuberculosis was discovered more than 100 years ago and highly effective drugs and vaccines they are available which are making the tuberculosis a preventable and curable disease. About one third of the current global population is infected asymptomatically with tuberculosis, of whom 5 to 10% will develop the clinical disease during their lifetime. Patients with infectious pulmonary tuberculosis disease, they can infect 10 to 15 persons in a year. Now the developed countries, they have achieved a great achievement in controlling the tuberculosis, mainly because of improvements in standard of living and the quality of life of people, and coupled with the application of available technical knowledge and health resources. In Pakistan, tuberculosis is a big public health issue. Tuberculosis is endemic in Pakistan, and unfortunately, Pakistan is included among the high burden countries where TB is present, with an estimated 5,18,000 new tuberculosis cases emerging each year and approximately 27,000 developing drug-resistant tuberculosis cases each year. Pakistan is ranked fifth among the high-burden countries worldwide, and Pakistan is amongst the fourth highest prevalent country of multi-drug resistant TB globally. There are a number of factors which are involved for the emergence of drug-resistant form of tuberculosis. The key reasons for the emergence of drug-resistant form of TB include delay in diagnosis, unsupervised, inappropriate and inadequate drug regimens, poor follow-up, and lack of a social support program for high-risk populations. Now we will discuss the epidemiological determinants of tuberculosis. First of all, agent factors. Agent of tuberculosis is called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Mycobacterium tuberculosis is a facultative intracellular parasite. It is readily ingested by the phagocytes and it is resistant to intracellular killing. Of importance to man, there are two forms which are known as the human strain and the bovine strains. The human strain is responsible for the vast majority of the cases. The bovine strain mainly affects the cattle and other animals. Now we will discuss the source of infection. There are two sources of infection for tuberculosis, that is human and the bovine. Human source. The most common source of infection is the human case whose sputum is positive for tubercle bacilli and who has either received no treatment or has not been treated fully. Sources: they can discharge the bacilli in their sputum for years. An estimated annual average of 10 to 15 persons can contract the infection from one case of infectious pulmonary tuberculosis. There are different types of tubercle bacilli. Some multiply slowly and some multiply rapidly. The more rapidly a bacillary strain multiplies, the more susceptible it is to the bactericidal action of chemotherapeutic drugs. The slow multipliers are the source of persistent or dormant bacilli. They can remain alive for years inside the host without causing harm. But when the conditions they become favorable, they may start multiplying again and cause the disease. In case of bovine source, the bovine source of infection is usually the infected milk. However, the bovine tuberculosis is becoming less of a problem because of practice of boiling milk. Communicability. Patients are infective as long as they remain untreated. However, once they get treatment, the effective antimicrobial treatment reduces the infectivity by 98% within 48 hours. Tuberculosis is a disease which affects all ages. However, in developing countries, tuberculosis shows a sharp rise in infection rates from childhood to adolescence, while in developed countries, this disease is more common in the elderly. The cases of tuberculosis they are more prevalent in males when compared in females. Heredity. Tuberculosis is not a hereditary disease. However, the twin studies indicate that inherited susceptibility is an important risk factor. Malnutrition. Malnutrition is widely believed to predispose to tuberculosis. As malnutrition is widely prevalent in developing world, it will continue to affect the development of the active disease, outcome of treatment, and spread of the disease. Man has no inherited immunity against tuberculosis. Immunity is acquired as a result of natural infection or after BCG vaccination. There are many different social factors which are linked with the spread of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is basically a social disease with medical aspects. It has also been described as a barometer of social welfare. The social factors include many non-medical factors which include poor quality of life, poor housing, and overcrowding, population explosion and large families, undernutrition, smoking and alcohol abuse, lack of education, early marriages, lack of awareness of causes of illness. All these factors they are basically interrelated and contribute to the occurrence and spread of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis basically began to decline in the Western world long before the advent of the chemotherapeutic drugs. This was attributed mainly to the improvement in the quality of life. Tuberculosis is transmitted mainly by droplet infection and by droplet nuclei, which are generated by sputum positive patients with pulmonary tuberculosis. Coughing generates the largest number of droplets of all sizes. Frequency and vigor of cough and the ventilation of the environment they influence the transmission of infection. Tuberculosis is not transmitted by fomites, so sterilization of the articles is of little or no value. Patients with extrapulmonary tuberculosis they constitute a minimal hazard for the transmission of infection. Now we will discuss the incubation period. The time from the receipt of infection to the development of a positive tuberculin test ranges from 3 to 6 weeks, and thereafter the development of disease depends upon a number of factors. These include closeness of the contact, extent of the disease, sputum positivity of the source case, that is dose of infection, and host parasite relationship. So the incubation period may be in weeks, months, or years. Control of tuberculosis means reduction in both the prevalence and incidence of the disease in the community. The control measure consists of curative component, which includes case finding and treatment, and preventive component, which includes the BCG vaccination. The first step in a tuberculosis control program is early detection of a sputum positive cases. Sputum microscopy and culture. Sputum smear examination by direct microscopy is now considered the method of choice. The reliability, cheapness, and ease of direct microscopic examination, they have made it #1 case finding method all over the world. How will you collect a sputum samples? You need to collect two sputum samples. The first sample patient provides on the spot under supervision when presenting to healthcare facility. You give the patient a sputum container to take home for an early morning sample the following morning. On day 2, patient brings an early morning sample. This is your sample 2. Radiography. Chest X-rays, they are useful for the diagnosis of smear negative pulmonary TB and TB in children. Radiography is not routinely indicated in smear positive cases. X-ray, they are valuable tools for the diagnosis of pleural and pericardial effusion, especially in the early cases of the disease when the clinical signs are minimal. X-rays, they are essential in the diagnosis of miliary TB. The other indications of radiography include frequent or severe hemoptysis to exclude bronchitis or aspergilloma, and in patients needing specific treatment for pneumothorax. Sputum culture. Isolation of mycobacteria from clinical samples by culture represent the cornerstone on which the definitive diagnosis of tuberculosis relies. Culture examination of sputum is only second in importance in a case finding program. A positive reaction to tuberculin test is generally accepted as an evidence of past or present infection by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Tuberculin test is the only means of estimating the prevalence of infection in a population. There are three types of tuberculin tests which are in use. Montos intradermal test. It is more precise test of tuberculin sensitivity. HEAF test. It is quick, easy, reliable, and cheap. It is preferred for testing large groups. Time multiple puncture test. It is unreliable and it is generally not recommended. Mantoux test is carried out by injecting intradermally on the flexor surface of forearm one tuberculin unit of purified protein derivative in dose of 0.1 ml. It is read after 72 hours, that is after third day. It causes both erythema and induration, but since erythema is difficult to measure, only induration is measured. There are three interpretations. If there is induration greater than 10 mm, it indicates positive result, means either past infection or current infection with tuberculosis. Induration of 6 to 9 mm is considered as doubtful. It may be because of Mycobacterium tuberculosis or because of atypical mycobacteria. And in duration less than 6 mm, they are considered as negative. Chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is indicated in every active case of tuberculosis. The objective of treatment is to eliminate the bacilli from the patient's body. The effects of chemotherapy, they are not judged by the anatomic healing of the lesions, but mainly by the elimination of the bacilli from the patient's sputum. This chemotherapy should be easily available, free of charge to every patient detected with tuberculosis. It should be adequate, appropriate, and applied to the entire pool of infectors in the community. In case of tuberculosis, patient compliance is critically important. Patients must take the correct doses at the correct dosage for the correct length of time. Incomplete treatment and the patient's non-compliance puts the patients at risk of relapse and the development of bacterial resistance. Anti-tuberculosis drugs. There are now 13 drugs active against Mycobacterium tuberculosis, of which 6 drugs they are considered to be essential. The currently used drugs may be classified into two main groups: bactericidal, that is, they kill the bacilli, and bacteriostatic drugs, that is, they inhibit the multiplication of the bacilli and lead to their destruction by the immune mechanism of the host. An anti-tubercular drug should satisfy the following criteria: it should be highly effective, free from side effects, easy to administer, and it should be reasonably cheap. The first line bactericidal drugs include rifampicin, isoniazid, streptomycin, parazinamide, and bacteriostatic first line drug includes ethambutol. Each of these drugs, they have few side effects. Rifampicin causes hepatotoxicity, gastritis, and nephrotoxicity. The patient should be told that a drug may turn the urine color red. Isoniazid. Isoniazid causes gastrointestinal disturbances, peripheral neuropathy. Streptomycin causes vestibular damage and nystagmus. Parazinamide causes hepatotoxicity, and ethambutol causes retrobulbar neuritis. Second line anti-tubercular drugs include fluoroquinolones, ethanamide, capomycin, kanamycin and amikacin, cycloserine, thioacetazone, and macrolides. There are two phases in the effective treatment of tuberculosis. The first phase is a short, aggressive or intensive phase, which is early in the course of treatment. It lasts for 1 to 3 months. In this phase, 3 or more drugs they are combined to kill off as many bacilli as possible. The more rapidly the bacilli are killed initially, the less likely are the persisters to emerge. The risk of relapse is also lessened. The second phase, also known as the continuation phase, is aimed at sterilizing the smaller number of bacilli which are dormant or persistent bacilli. In the standard anti-tuberculous therapy, the duration of treatment was used to be not less than 18 months. However, with the introduction of rifampicin and parazinamide, the second or the continuation phase is now successfully reduced to 6 to 9 months. This table is showing you the drugs of initial phase, their dose, and their main side effects, and the drugs used in the continuation phase, their doses, and their side effect. I would request all of you to kindly remember these doses and the side effects. Dear students, now we will discuss few programs and strategies which aim at finding the cases of tuberculosis and treating them. One of them is DOOR strategy. It is known as directly observed treatment, short course chemotherapy. DOTS is a strategy to ensure cure by providing the most effective medicine and confirming that it is taken. It is the only strategy which has been documented to be effective worldwide on a program basis. It got two phases, intensive phase and the continuation phase. In DOTS, during the intensive phase of treatment, a healthcare worker or other trained person watches as the patient swallows the medicine in his presence. During the continuation phase, the patient is issued medicine for 1 week in a multi-blister combi pack, of which the first dose is swallowed by the patient in the presence of healthcare worker or a trained person. The consumption of medicine in the continuation phase is also checked by the return of empty multi-blister combi pack when the patient comes to collect the medicine for the next week. Dear students, then we will discuss another strategy known as Stop TB strategy. Its vision is to see a world free of tuberculosis. The goal is to dramatically reduce the global burden of tuberculosis by 2015 in line with the Millennium Developmental Goals and Stop TB partnership targets. Targets of this strategy are: by 2005, increase the case detection rate by greater than 70% and cure rate greater than 85%. By 2010, reduce the prevalence of tuberculosis and deaths by 50% relative to 1990. And by 2015, eliminate the tuberculosis as a public health problem. That is, by reduce the cases less than one case per million population. Unfortunately, many targets could not be achieved. The main components of Stop TB strategy are: pursue high quality dose expansion and enhancement, address tuberculosis, HIV, multi-drug resistant tuberculosis and other challenges, contribute to health system strengthening, engage all healthcare workers, empower people with tuberculosis and empower the communities, enable and promote research. Then there is another strategy, the End TB strategy. Its vision is to see a world free of tuberculosis, that is zero deaths, disease and suffering due to tuberculosis. The goal is to end the global tuberculosis epidemic. It, it, it set some milestones. The milestones for 2025 include 75% reduction in tuberculosis deaths compared with 2015, 50% reduction in tuberculosis incidence rate compared with 2015, and no families facing the catastrophic cost due to tuberculosis. The NTB strategy has set certain targets to be achieved by the year 2035. These include 95% reduction in tuberculosis deaths compared with 2015, 90% reduction in tuberculosis incidence rate compared with 2015, that is less than 10 tuberculosis cases per 100,000 population, and no affected families facing catastrophic costs due to tuberculosis. Dear students, this slide is showing you the three strategies which we have discussed, that is the DOT strategy, the Stop TB strategy and the End TB strategy. Kindly learn about these strategies. Dear students, now we will discuss the preventive component of tuberculosis, that is the BCG vaccination. The aim of BCG vaccination is to induce a benign artificial primary infection which will stimulate an acquired resistance to possible subsequent infection with virulent tubercle bacilli. The vaccine consists of living bacteria derived from an attenuated bovine strain of tubercle bacilli. Types of vaccines. There are two types of BCG vaccines, the liquid vaccine and the freeze-dried vaccine. Freeze-dried vaccine is more stable preparation than the liquid vaccine, and it got superior keeping qualities when compared with the liquid vaccine. So the present day vaccines, they are distributed in the freeze-dried form. BCG vaccine is stable for several weeks at ambient temperature in a tropical climate and for up to 1 year if kept away from direct light and stored in a cool environment, preferably, preferably refrigerated at a temperature below 10 centigrade. The reconstituted BCG vaccination may be used within 3 hours and the leftover vaccine should be discarded. The dose of BCG vaccination to newborn aged below 4 weeks is 0.05 ml. This is because the skin of the newborn is thin and an intradermal injection with full dose of 0.1 ml in some of them might penetrate into deeper tissues and give rise to local abscess formation and enlarge regional axillary lymph nodes. For the administration of BCG vaccination, the standard procedure as recommended by World Health Organization is to inject the vaccine intradermally using a tuberculin syringe. The site of injection should be just above the insertion of the left deltoid muscle. A satisfactory injection should produce a wheal of 5 mm in diameter. This concludes our today's lecture. Thank you very much.